Okay. So let's see, for the problem which you need to solve today, for problem 1, this is when you have the previous problem of last time. And from problem 2, you have to compare two objects of type card and of type software product, as well as you want to store inside the file or you can read from the file, meaning that you will have to create an interface. An interface is when you create another Java class and you will have a public interface and you've got the name of your interface. So let's say that we have a store of your file, as well as, let's say, we can have a store to avoid read from a certain file. Okay, having it in here, we will have the client. And the client needs to implement, so we have this implements, void client implements of your type, which is client, as well as we have the storable. So we have the methods to have them. With storable, you need to write, which is the action inside store, inside read, as well as we have to compare two objects of the type client. So you will have them here, and let's place them above to be seen. Okay. So I will write the compare of my client, which is of fact a lab 1 of client being, so always when you want to compare, you compare an object of the same type as the one that you have it here inside the class. Okay, now it's good. And when thinking about storing inside a file, it means that you want to write inside it. And when you want to write, you have this output stream, such that you would have to import everything, the output stream. Okay, and this is inside import class. Okay, with IO. You have input output operations, so it would be with star, and you would have to say from where. It also has an exception, whether you do not have it, so you can surround everything. So you can or add the exception to method signature. Okay, so this one will throw file not found exception. Right, as well as here. So you have two options, or when you want to write inside the file, you overwrite everything, or you have the second option, and the second option is when you add at the end of the file, so with this append of true. Okay. Then what you would do is to have an output stream writer. So when you want to store, it means that you want to output, you use an output writer based on the file, and the file should also exist over here in the SRC. So meaning that if I go here, directory or showing Explorer. Yeah. Okay. Here you would have, okay, you have the SRC. So it will read from here, like you have the POM file. You have a new file called the one with, let's say you have the input or info.txt. Yeah, this is the name. Okay. Then you have the output stream, and for it to write, you need the print writer. For the print writer, you would have to add a string. So it would be the this2string of the class. So you can add over here, which is the implementation. You would have to generate a toString method such that it will provide name, birthday, personal numerical address. You have the address, also the maximum size which the cards list can have, and including the list, for example. And this is provided for you. Then what you would have, don't forget that when you write inside the file, you also have to close it. So you have the pw.close. So at the end of printing, you need to close it. And when you want to read from a file, you have the file input stream. okay, which is similar. Now let's see it in parallel. For it, so here when you want to store, you have a file output stream. When you want to read, you have a file input stream based on the file which you have, and it will have the same problem. Now, so you have two options. Or you have inside the method, you throw the error as before, or you add the try-catch block. So let's see how it looks like. If you have the try-catch block, it would be like here. And it means that what you have inside it, okay, you would place it here. Then this one goes away. Okay. Okay. So you have the file input stream. Then, okay, you will have the catch. You would surround everything by try catch. Yeah, it is already inside. So let's see, you have file input stream. This one goes also inside for the buffered reader. You get line by line, and this would be according to the line that you use for the buffered reader. Again, it wants to add the throws IO exception, whether you don't have what to read. This one is in fact ended here for the catch. Exception E. Yeah, this is here. So you get line by line, you print it, and that's it. Okay, so this is ended here, and this one will close the method. Okay. Then when you want to compare, in fact, you will have them in this way. You compare based on a client. So it is the same as here. Let's see. All right. Based on what you have took. Also, when you want to compare, you want to see whether your client is before, equal, or after another object of type client. So you will have to see if your object is, if this object is equal to O that you receive as an input parameter, then you have them equal. And then you have your comparison criteria. Like you would have to compare like the social security number, this CNP, to compare it with the CNP, let's say of O, get CNP. And yeah, whether they are equal, you just do, okay, the CNP that compared to, so you would receive the result, whether it is 0 or 1 with get CNP. So in fact, you would return the result of this comparison. So whether the CNP will not be equal, so maybe we have the same problem, I mean the same person. Okay, you would have the account number. Okay, you have birthday, you would have the number of cards. Maybe you store the same person, they have the same CNP, and you will see how many cards they have. For example, this is for a numeric comparison. You can even have the cards that size, and you compare with the cards of the other person, which you receive as an input parameter. Okay, get cards dot size, and you check whether it's before or after. And here it's the same. Okay. All right. And okay, this would be to return. Okay. So we have return equal from here. This one has a return. And in the end, they would be equal also. This is why it provides here the error, so missing return. But you can add the return. So as you can see, you have several cases. You have, if you have the current object being the same, they are equal. Then you would compare it according to your CNP. Okay, then you have to compare based on the card size. You have less than, greater than, meaning that here you would have the same amount of cards, so you would have to return equal. Okay, so let's see. Now when you have the void main and you have the cards, let's say that I want this dot, I have my store of file name, which is info.txt. Okay. And now this, okay, you will have for the current object. In fact, it would be for my client. I want to have the method. And as you see here, you have the file not found exception. So you can have again several methods, or you have the try catch, or you have the exception thrown in the method. So here it's maybe you do not have the file. So it means that you need to place it like here, whether the file is not found, it will simply trigger the error. So when you run it, okay, it will display the terminal. And as you can see, it will write the name of your client. So you are inside the class client, and I want to store exactly the toString. So it calls the toString of your person. Okay, so it is the same. And now, so I did store, I have some content inside my file, and now I also want to display it, meaning that I need to have the c.read of my file name, which is info.txt. Okay, and let's see. Here again, it has the exception. Okay, so you would have to, or you add the catch clause, or you have the exception in it, or you replace it, okay, or you surround it, like here. Because here, what you would do, so here it was to store inside the file. Now you would like to read from the file, so the exception that can appear is in fact the input-output exception. And when you will have to run it, you see that you get exactly the content that you have inside the info.txt. Okay. Now what you can do is to compare a client with another. So let's say that I have this client over here, and I have another client, my second client. You can have a different person American number. Okay. So what you will have to do, in fact, is to display whether I need to compare my client that I have my compare to, and I will compare it to my client too. And I need to display it because my method with compare to, in fact, needs to get the result with -1, 0, or 1 according to the position. So whether it's before it's -1, whether it's the same, it's 0, whether it comes afterwards, it will be 1. So let's compare it according to it. Here, this -1, you can even analyze it. So it will compare my CNP, which is this one, with the following one. It is less than the second one, so it will come before. Now, if here I would put 19, this one will show 1, so it comes after. Whether I put 20, okay. So it will compare, in this case, what will it do? It will compare, in this case, the dimension of the cards. So being with the dimension of the cards, the first client will come after, because here you have multiple cards, while for my second client, I don't have any cards added. So this is why it goes further in comparison, in the comparison according to it. Okay, so it will compare. It is not the same object because I do not have the same cards collection. It will compare the CNP. The CNP will have to compare it according to it, but whether they are equal, okay, it will look at the cards dimension. And at the cards dimension, in this case, for the first one, I have two cards. I have the debit card and the credit card, okay? While for my second one, I don't have anything associated. So this is why it will say that for my client C, which is defined here as having the debit card and the credit card, it comes after my new instance of card 2. Well, this is basically what this